What are the main forms of cultural journalism? The main forms of cultural journalism in print and online are reviews, interviews, profiles and general features. Features broadly defined as any articles that are not news reports. Culture is also covered in news reports, comment and blogs. Most of these forms rely on core journalism skills, such as reporting and interviewing. But they also include criticism, which means the skill of critical appreciation. Most forms of cultural journalism can be enriched by incorporating an element of this criticism. That means making your own assessments of art, not just relying on received opinion. So this is a field of journalism in which you can find and express a personal voice. What is criticism? We are all critics in the sense that we constantly judge whether cultural products such as films, books or TV programs are good or not, and how they compare to others of their type. But criticism is not just an opinion. A review is an argument based on evidence, which implicitly seeks to persuade others. It ideally includes some element of objective description of whatever is being reviewed. While reviews, like comment, are subjective, the critic aspires to speak not just for him or herself, but for other readers, listeners or viewers. Critics play a vital role in supporting cultural and creative industries, and in enabling artists of all kinds to develop their art and reach audiences. But criticism is neither promotion nor just consumer advice. It may be a good thing if people read a book or see a film or show because of a review, but a critic must be independent of marketing. Their job is not to sell anything in particular, but to pay attention to art, whether it has financial backing or not. They can in fact function as an antidote to hype, which means expensive promotion. Among the critic's obligations are to be fair to the artist he or she is reviewing and to the art form itself, but their main responsibilities are arguably to the audience and to give their judgment with integrity. The language of the review will depend on the audience for which it is intended. With some conceptual art, for example, one function of the critic may be to translate theoretical jargon into terms the general reader will understand. Critics can mediate between art and audiences, explain the new, and even predict what will last. They can set standards and shape tastes, sometimes working against public opinion. Criticism can be read for cultural news, as a forum for debate, and as a mirror of social concerns. The audience for book reviews, for example, might include people who will read the book being reviewed, people who have already read it, and people who will never read it. A review should include factual information, for example, release dates and details or venues, description, some flavour or quotation of the work, context, and evaluation or judgment. Relevant context might include the artist's past work, comparable works by other artists, and the entire history of the genre or art form. It might include an element of the artist's biography, though not usually their domestic circumstances or the market value of the artworks. Unlike academic reviewers, a reviewer in the news media is expected to make a judgment. Here are some questions you could ask yourself as a reviewer. Is the artist doing something new or taking their art form in a different direction? If they're working in a tradition, in what way do they conform to or depart from it or develop it? How does the work compare with others by the same artist or by other artists? What art has inspired or influenced them? How to interview cultural figures? Interviews can take many forms, including feature articles, Q&As, which means questions and answers, or transcripts, profiles, and online audio podcasts. Interviewees might include artists, authors and cultural figures, or people who work with them, such as publishers or gallerists. To prepare an interview with a cultural figure, the most important task is to familiarise yourself with as much of their work as possible, and certainly the most recent, as well as the biographical details of their life. Other preparation might include reading past reviews and finding out more about the art that has influenced them. You should also think about key themes in the development of their work, as well as the context of their life and their art. You can also talk to other people who know them and their work. An interview should be carefully structured. The most important questions asked early on, but you should be ready to listen carefully and change the structure depending on how the conversation develops. You can give them a chance to respond to criticisms that have been made of their work. When writing up the interview as a feature article, add context and criticism in summarising their life and work. Be sure to include colour, meaning the atmosphere and description of the person or location where you met them and of the art itself, as well as plenty of quotation. You can build an interview of a cultural figure into a fuller profile that can also be a portrait of an age or a place, trace larger historical or political forces or the development of an art form, or map a field such as jazz or magic realism or an argument or debate. Thank you for watching, and I hope this course has been useful to you. You can find additional material below the video.